My name's Regina Brooks, 32, and I've spent years building a reputation as Fargo's go-to event planner. I poured my heart into crafting perfect moments, especially for my family. So when my younger brother sent me a text that felt like a punch to the gut, I couldn't believe it. "You're not invited to my engagement party," he wrote. "You don't fit with our VIP guests." My hands shook as I read it again, his words slicing through every late night I'd spent planning his big day venues, booked menus, perfected all on my dime. I'd done it all for him, and he didn't even blink. I could have screamed, called him out, or begged to know why, but instead I felt a quiet grin tug at my lips. I didn't argue. I just packed my bags, booked a flight to Aspen, and walked away. Let him handle his precious party without me. I wasn't there to see it unravel, but a week later, my phone lit up with frantic calls and texts. His perfect night had crashed and burned. And that was just the start. Something bigger was coming. Something that would flip his world upside down and make him regret ever pushing me away. Stick around to see how it all went down, because trust me, you won't believe what happened next. If you're stunned, like I was, smash that like button and drop Aspen Escape in the comments to let me know you're with me on this wild ride. It was a chilly Monday morning in my Fargo office when my phone buzzed with Randall's text. "I'm Regina Brooks, and for the past decade I've poured my soul into building a name as the best event planner in North Dakota. Weddings, galas, corporate retreats. I've done them all, each one a testament to my knack for turning chaos into perfection. My latest project was my brother Randall Brooks's engagement party, a chance to show my family what I could do. I'd spent weeks crafting every detail, booking a sleek downtown venue with floor-to-ceiling windows, securing a catering team led by Mrs. Pierce for a menu of herb-crusted lamb and artisanal desserts, and hiring Corey Ramsey to design floral arches that would steal breaths. I'd negotiated deals, covered costs out of my own pocket, and logged countless unpaid hours, all because I wanted my brother's night to shine. It wasn't just work. It was love. Then my phone lit up. Randall's message was short, brutal, and cold. "Regina, you're not invited to my engagement party. You don't fit with our VIP guests." My stomach dropped like I'd missed a step on a staircase. I read it again, each word carving deeper. Not invited to the party I'd built from scratch. My hands gripped the edge of my desk, knuckles whitening as I stared at the screen. Randall, my younger brother, the one I'd always looked out for, had just dismissed me like I was some hired help he could fire. The man who'd begged me to plan this because he trusted my skills now thought I wasn't good enough to sit at his table. I leaned back in my chair, my mind racing. Was this about his fiancée? She'd always been particular, pushing for a guest list stacked with Fargo's elite bankers, real estate moguls, people who'd never given me the time of day. Or was it Randall himself deciding I didn't match his vision of a perfect night? I'd spent years proving myself in this town, turning down sleep to make other people's dreams come true. And now my own brother thought I didn't belong. A sharp ache bloomed in my chest, not just anger, but doubt. Was I really not good enough? Had I been fooling myself thinking I'd earn my place? I opened my laptop, pulling up the contracts I'd signed for the party. There was the agreement with Mr. Foster, the venue manager, locking in the space for a steal because I'd worked with him before. The catering invoice from Mrs. Pierce with my handwritten notes on dietary restrictions. Corey's sketches for the decor, each one approved after hours of back and forth. I'd poured at least 40 hours into this unpaid because it was for family. I'd even turned down a paying client to focus on Randall's event. And he repaid me with a text that erased all of it. I wanted to call him to demand an explanation. Why was I suddenly not enough? Was it my clothes? My job? My life? I'd always been the one to hold our family together, planning holiday dinners, mediating fights, covering bills when things got tight. Yet here I was, staring at a message that felt like a betrayal. My finger hovered over his number, but I stopped. Calling would mean giving him power, letting him see me break. Instead, I scrolled through my emails, rereading the ones I'd sent to vendors. Every detail was perfect, every plan airtight. I'd done nothing wrong except maybe trust my brother too much. The office felt smaller, the air heavier. I thought about the party, picturing Randall standing under those floral arches I'd chosen, toasting with guests I'd never meet. Would he even mention me? Or would he pretend he'd pulled it all off himself? The thought stung worse than the text. I wasn't just uninvited, I was invisible. My work, my sacrifice, my love for my family, all reduced to a single line on his phone. I closed my laptop, my reflection staring back from the dark screen. I didn't know what I'd do next, but one thing was clear: I wasn't going to let this slide. By Tuesday afternoon, still reeling from Randall's text, I called my mom. I needed someone to tell me it was a mistake, that my brother didn't mean to cut me out of his engagement party. I sat at my kitchen table, phone pressed to my ear, waiting for Pamela Brooks to pick up. Mom had always been the glue in our family, the one who smoothed over fights and kept us together. Surely she'd understand how much his words hurt. When her voice came through, warm but distracted, I spilled everything: Randall's message, how I'd poured my heart into his party, how I felt erased. I waited for her to gasp, to call him out, to take my side. Instead, she sighed. "Regina, you're overreacting," she said. "Just let it go. It's his big day." My breath caught. Let it go. Before I could respond, she added, "By the way, we need you to chip in $5,000 for their wedding gift. It's what families do." I stared at the wall, my grip tightening on the phone. $5,000 for a gift to a brother who'd just told me I didn't belong at his party. I hung up, my chest heavy with disbelief. Was this really my mom? The woman who'd taught me family came first. I thought about calling her back, begging her to see my side, but my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Gregory Brooks, my dad. His voice was gruff. All business, like he was closing a deal. "Regina, your mother told me about your little issue," he said. "You need to step up for your brother. Family means supporting each other no matter what. That $5,000 isn't optional, it's your responsibility." I tried to explain, my voice shaking, how Randall's text made me feel invisible, how I'd already given so much. But Dad cut me off. "Don't make this about you," he said. "Pay the money and move on." The call ended and I sat there stunned, the silence in my apartment louder than his words. My own father, who'd always preached loyalty, didn't care about my pain. He only cared about Randall's image, his perfect night. I opened Instagram, hoping to distract myself, but that's when I saw it, a post from my cousin Jenna Pierce. The photo showed her laughing at a bachelorette party, clinking glasses with Randall's fiancée and a group of strangers. The caption read, "Kicking off the wedding vibes with the best crew." My heart sank. I hadn't been invited to that either. Jenna, who I'd grown up with, who'd spent summers at our house, hadn't even mentioned me. I scrolled through the comments, seeing names of mutual friends, all celebrating a moment I was excluded from. It wasn't just Randall, it was my whole family moving on without me, like I was a footnote in their story. The weight of it all hit me like a wave. I'd always been the one to show up, planning birthdays, hosting Thanksgivings, bailing out relatives when money was tight. I thought that's what family meant, being there, no questions asked. But now I saw it clearly. To them, I was a resource, not a person. They wanted my money, my work, but not me. My fingers hovered over Jenna's post, tempted to comment, to call her out in front of everyone. But what would that solve? They'd already chosen their side. I set my phone down, my mind spiraling. Part of me wanted to keep fighting, to prove I belonged, but another part, small but growing, whispered something else. Maybe I didn't need their approval. Maybe I never did. I walked to my window, staring out at the quiet Fargo street. The betrayal wasn't just Randall's text or Mom and Dad's demands. It was the realization that my family saw me as expendable. I'd spent years building their moments, only to be pushed aside when it mattered most. The $5,000 they wanted felt like a final insult, a price tag on my loyalty. I wasn't sure what I'd do next, but I knew one thing: I couldn't keep giving to people who took me for granted. Wednesday morning, I met Greg at a coffee shop to clear my head. Greg Marshall, my best friend since college, had a way of cutting through my chaos with his no-nonsense advice. I slid into the booth, the weight of the past 2 days pressing on my shoulders. I told him everything: my brother's brutal text, mom and dad's demand for $5,000, my cousin's Instagram post flaunting a party I wasn't invited to. My voice cracked as I admitted how small it all made me feel, like I was nothing to the people I'd given everything for. Greg leaned forward, his eyes steady. "Regina, you're not the problem here," he said. "You planned that whole engagement party venue, food decor. You hold all the cards. Why let them walk all over you?" His words hit like a spark. He was right. I'd been so caught up in their rejection that I'd forgotten my power. I controlled every detail of that event. I could walk away. Greg sipped his coffee, then added, "Let your brother deal with it. Pull out and see how his VIP party holds up without you." The idea sent a jolt through me. Step back. Let Randall handle the mess he'd created. It felt reckless, but also right. I'd spent too long bending over backward for a family that didn't value me. I opened my laptop right there in the coffee shop, my fingers moving with purpose. I drafted an email to Mr. Foster, the venue manager, Mrs. Pierce, the caterer, and Corey Ramsey, the decorator. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I wrote, "Randall Brooks will now oversee all arrangements for his engagement party. Please direct all inquiries to him." I read it over, my heart pounding. This wasn't just about logistics, it was me drawing a line. I hit send, and a strange calm settled over me. Back at my apartment, I pulled up a travel site and searched for flights to Aspen. I'd always wanted to go to lose myself in the snowy slopes and crisp mountain air. Now felt like the perfect time. I found a flight leaving Friday morning, just 2 days away. My cursor hovered over the Book Now button. A small voice in my head whispered doubts. What if Randall failed? What if my family blamed me? But then I thought of their indifference, their demands, their dismissal. I clicked the button, locking in my ticket. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of freedom, like I was taking my life back. But that freedom came with a shadow of unease. Walking away meant leaving behind the event I'd poured my heart into, the one I'd dreamed would bring my family closer. I started packing folding sweaters and ski gear into a suitcase. Every item I tucked away felt like a step towards something new, but also a step away from the family I'd always tried to please. I thought about Randall scrambling to manage vendors I'd spent weeks coordinating. Would he even know where to start? A part of me felt a pang of guilt. He was my brother after all. But then I remembered his text. Mom and Dad's cold demands, my cousin's careless post. They'd made their choice, and now I was making mine. I zipped up my suitcase, my resolve hardening. I wasn't just leaving Fargo for a weekend, I was leaving behind the version of myself that let others define her worth. As I set my suitcase by the door, my phone buzzed with a confirmation email for the flight. I stared at the screen, a mix of relief and nerves swirling in my chest. Aspen was my escape, my chance to breathe, to figure out who I was without my family's expectations. I didn't know what would happen at the party, but I knew I wouldn't be there to fix it. For once, I was choosing myself. Saturday evening, as I sipped hot cocoa in an Aspen lodge, the chaos unfolded in Fargo. I wasn't there to witness it firsthand, but I pieced it together later from scattered accounts, vendors I'd worked with before, a few mutual acquaintances who felt bad for how things went down. The party my brother had insisted on controlling turned into a disaster from the start. Without my oversight, the venue looked like a rushed setup. Corey's floral arches hung crookedly, half the lights flickered because no one confirmed the tech run-through, and tables were missing centerpieces that had been delayed in delivery. Guests arrived to a room that screamed amateur hour, whispering about the mismatched vibe that didn't align with the invitations they'd received. Then the food fiasco kicked in. Mrs. Pierce's team had prepared the original menu. I'd approved elegant hors d'oeuvres and plated dinners, but Randall had called last minute with changes demanding cheaper alternatives to cut costs. The result was soggy appetizers and undercooked mains that left people pushing plates away. Mr. Foster, the venue manager, tried to salvage things by directing staff, but without a point person, everything spiraled. The breaking point came during toasts. Randall and his fiancée, Linda Pierce, got into a heated argument right on the dance floor. She accused him of ruining her special night with his poor decisions, yelling about how the cheap food made them look bad in front of her colleagues. Randall snapped back, blaming her for not helping more, their voices echoing over the awkward silence as guests stared. Friends shifted uncomfortably, some slipping out early, turning what should have been a celebration into a spectacle of embarrassment. My phone started vibrating around 7 p.m., just as I finished a relaxing spa session at the lodge. First came Mom's text, "Regina, the party's falling apart. Call me now." Then Dad's call, his tone urgent. "You need to fix this. Vendors are asking for you." I let it go to voicemail, watching the screen light up again with Jenna's message. "It's a mess here. Where are you?" More followed, frantic pleas from Mom about the food, Dad demanding I step in, Jenna describing the argument. I scrolled through them, my finger hovering over the reply button, but I set the phone down. They'd chosen to exclude me to demand my money while ignoring my role. Now they wanted my rescue. I chose silence, letting their desperation hang in the air. Instead, I headed out for a night ski under the stars, the cold Aspen wind clearing my thoughts. The slopes were quiet, just the sound of my skis carving snow, a far cry from the turmoil back home. I reflected on my choice to leave, how it felt like shedding a skin I'd outgrown. For years I'd tied my worth to their needs, but here, gliding down the mountain, I saw a life where I didn't have to. The peace wrapped around me like a blanket, easing the tension I'd carried for days. Later that night, back in my room, a notification popped up from an old client who'd attended the party. She sent a short video clip, blurry footage of Randall and Linda, mid-fight guests murmuring in the background, tables half empty. "Thought you should see this," her message read. "It's not your fault." I watched it twice, the chaos confirming I'd made the right call. Their night had imploded on its own, a direct result of their choices. No more second-guessing, I'd stepped away, and it had set me free. Monday morning, skiing down an Aspen slope, I turned my phone back on. The screen lit up with notifications, but one stood out, a public post from Randall on social media shared across Fargo's event planning circles. "Regina abandoned my engagement party, leaving us in chaos out of spite," it read. "Her irresponsibility ruined our night." My breath caught in my throat. Irresponsible me. The person who'd spent weeks securing vendors, negotiating deals, and pouring my heart into his event only to be uninvited. He'd twisted the story, painting me as the villain to save his own reputation. Clients, colleagues, even strangers were commenting, questioning my professionalism. My career, built on years of flawless events, was suddenly at risk, all because of his lies. I called Greg immediately, my voice shaking with fury. "He's blaming me for his mess," I said, explaining the post. Greg, ever the calm strategist, told me to hold tight. "We'll fight this with facts," he said. "Get Tara involved, she's got your back." Tara Larson, my colleague and tech-savvy ally, had worked with me on countless projects. I messaged her, and within hours we were on a group call piecing together a plan. Tara suggested compiling evidence to set the record straight. We dug through my email archives, the contract with Mr. Foster for the venue, Mrs. Pierce's catering agreement, Corey's decor invoices, all signed by me, all paid from my account. I found Randall's text, the one that cut me out. "You don't fit with our VIP guests." Tara screenshot my call logs showing the dozens of unanswered pleas from Mom, Dad, and Jenna during the party. Greg pulled reviews from past clients praising my meticulous work. Every piece was a brick in the wall we'd built to protect my name. Back at the lodge, I opened my laptop and started drafting a blog post for my website where I'd shared event planning tips for years. This wasn't going to be a rant or a sob story, it was a calculated response. The Truth About the Brooks Engagement Party, I titled it. I laid out the facts, how I'd planned every detail unpaid out of love for my brother, how his text excluded me, how I'd handed over control to him after his rejection. I included screenshots, his message, my vendor emails, and a timeline of my work. I didn't name Mom, Dad, or Jenna, but I mentioned their calls for help after the party fell apart, proving I wasn't there to sabotage anything. I ended with a simple statement. My work speaks for itself. I won't let lies define me. I read it over my pulse, steadying with every word. This was my truth, and I was done letting Randall control the narrative. I hit publish, then shared the link on my social media, tagging local event groups and clients who'd supported me. Tara amplified it, reposting to her network while Greg sent it to industry contacts. By evening, the post was spreading like wildfire. Comments poured in from Fargo locals, vendors, clients, even strangers who'd heard about the party's collapse. I worked with Regina, she's a pro, one wrote. Randall's post doesn't add up, said another. A local wedding planner messaged me privately I was at the party. It was a mess, and not because of you. The tide was turning. Randall's story unraveled as people shared their own accounts of his mismanagement, how he'd ignored vendor calls, changed plans last minute, and left Linda, his fiancée, to handle the fallout. Linda's reputation took a hit too. Her colleagues, the VIPs Randall had prioritized, distanced themselves after the public argument at the party. A few posted cryptic comments about poor planning and unprofessional behavior clearly aimed at the couple. Randall tried to double down, replying to critics with excuses, but each response dug him deeper. My blog stayed pinned at the top of my page, a quiet but firm rebuttal. I didn't gloat or engage in the back and forth, I let the truth do the work. Sitting by the lodge's fireplace, I watched the notifications stack up, a sense of vindication washing over me. I'd protected my name, my career, and my peace, all without stooping to their level. A week later, back in Fargo, Randall's world had crumbled. The fallout from his failed engagement party and the social media storm that followed left him exposed. Linda walked away for good. Humiliated by the public argument and the online backlash, she lost faith in their future, telling friends she couldn't marry someone who'd mishandled something so important. Randall's attempt to pin the blame on me had backfired, and her colleagues, those VIPs he'd prioritized, cut ties, unwilling to be associated with the drama. His bigger loss came in business. A major real estate deal he'd been banking on fell apart when investors, spooked by his tarnished reputation, pulled their funding. Word spread fast in Fargo's tight-knit circles, and Randall's name became synonymous with incompetence. Mom and Dad tried to reach me, their messages a mix of apologies and desperation. Regina, we were wrong. Mom wrote her words softer than I'd ever seen. Dad left voicemails, his voice strained, asking me to come to a family meeting to fix things. Jenna sent a long text admitting she'd been swept up in the excitement and hadn't meant to hurt me. But their words felt hollow, arriving only after their world fell apart. I read each message, my heart steady but unmoved. I'd spent years being their anchor, only to be discarded when it suited them. I didn't reply. Instead, I blocked their numbers, a quiet act that felt like closing a door I'd held open too long. I wasn't angry anymore, just done. My life, meanwhile, was taking a new shape. The blog post I'd written had done more than clear my name. It brought attention to my work. Susan Carter, a prominent Fargo businesswoman, reached out after reading it. She was organizing the city's annual winter festival and wanted me to lead the planning. It was the biggest contract of my career, a chance to showcase my skills on a stage I'd never dreamed of. I met her at my office, where we mapped out logistics for a month-long event: ice sculptures, live music, food stalls for thousands. To handle the workload, I hired Ronald Hayes, a sharp young planner who'd impressed me at a recent industry event. He became my first full-time employee, a sign my small business was growing into something real. Outside of work, I found unexpected joy. Sean Bennett, a photographer I'd met during a wedding project, had been texting me since Aspen. What started as friendly banter over coffee turned into long walks along Fargo's riverfront, his camera capturing moments I hadn't realized I'd been missing. Sean's steady presence, his quiet support felt like a gift after years of putting others first. One evening, as we watched the sunset, he took my hand, and I felt a warmth I hadn't known in a long time. For the first time, I wasn't chasing approval or fixing someone else's mess, I was building a life that felt like mine. A year later, I saw Randall again purely by chance. I was at a local supermarket picking up supplies for a client meeting when I spotted him stacking shelves in the back. He wore a worn apron, his face lined with exhaustion. Our eyes met briefly, but no words passed between us. The brother who'd once dismissed me as unworthy of his VIP party was now a shadow of himself, his dreams of grandeur gone. I didn't feel triumph or pity, just a calm detachment. He was no longer part of my story, and I was okay with that. Looking back, I see the lessons this journey taught me. Respecting myself meant saying no to those who didn't value me, even if they were family. Setting boundaries wasn't selfish, it was survival. I'd spent too long letting others define my worth, bending to their demands only to be cast aside. Stepping away, speaking my truth, and choosing my own path showed me the power of living authentically. I wasn't perfect, but I was enough, and that realization was my freedom. To everyone who's followed this story, thank you for listening. Your time and attention mean the world. I hope my experience resonates whether you've faced betrayal or struggled to find your voice. What did you take away from this? Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear how you've navigated your own challenges. Here's to building lives that reflect who we truly are.